Hey, 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 what's up, phenomenal woman of God? We are on day 7, and today I want to talk about releasing the spirit of perfectionism. Oh, 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 oh. Listen, this has been one I was about to say, yo. Like when I say yo, like we really getting into it. So let's go with yo. Yo, like when I think about this, like this one, I'm going to be honest with you, it breaks my heart actually. And it breaks my heart to see a person caught up here because what's really happening is that what it's doing on the inside of them and the chaos that is being created on the inside, it really breaks my heart because I mean, when you find a person, and I've looked at this blog before, and I'm not going to go into where it came from or anything like that, just to protect the integrity of this particular blog. But there was this question that was asked, and it's mostly geared towards women, and the response back was all leading back to some form of perfectionism. Like, I don't say things unless I go out and I go back and I look it up, and and then if somebody come back and correct me, I get angry when they correct me. Or then other people were saying I don't do certain things because out of like I don't launch out there because I out of fear of what people are gonna say about me, and so they don't do it because they feel like it has to be so perfect, and if it's not this perfect thing, then they won't launch it. They're afraid. There's many that's afraid to write, begin the writing process. Many of you have a book that's on the inside of you, but you won't do it because there's somebody have told you that you're not great at writing, and so you're caught up in this mindset that you got to be perfect. And you're getting tripped up on the grammar things, you're getting tripped up on the spelling of things, you're getting tripped up on just all these things that just don't matter, if we're being honest, and things that you can really hire out, that you to in your business. But it's something that should not stop you. I will say that, because if you look at this, if you look at the journey of anyone in the Bible, they didn't start out perfect. Nothing starts out perfect. Everything starts out rough because there is no blueprint, and the spirit of perfectionism is stopping many of you from stepping into God's blueprint for your life and for your business, because you feel like before you can really roll it out, then it has to be at this level of perfectionism. Before you can really stand before other kings and queens, you feel like it has to be perfect. And what's happening is when you get caught up in this trap and in this cycle, then what's happening is you're robbing people of the process of where you are right now, because where you are right now is really a blessing for somebody who has not even reached that level in their process or in their growth or in their development. And so that imperfect version that you are being called to put out there in the marketplace is a beautiful thing to them, and it's actually a blessing to them. And so one thing that I think about when I think about this is like Moses, like it was imperfect. He had no idea what he was going to say. He had no idea what was going to be on the other side of that. He had never been in a position to lead and speak in the way that God was calling him to do it, but yet he did it. Yet he trusted the Lord. Yet he went forth, and yet he made some mistakes. That's one of his mistakes, caused him to not make it into the promised land. That's okay. He made it to the ultimate promised land. There's always a covering of grace that's built in to everything. Your job is to show up and be obedient. One thing that has freed me in my journey when it comes to the whole thing as far as perfectionism is that, number one, is that I look at it and I say I stand on biblical principles, and I just want you to encourage you to stand on biblical principles, and you look at it for yourself. And so what that for me is the scripture where it talks about um in my weakness his strength is made perfect. So wherever I'm weak, wherever, whether it's in my writing, in the way that I speak, in the way that I am building my business, and things that I don't know or don't know, or the way that I market, in all of that, and the lack of resources, whatever. I don't try to be perfect. Perfection is unattainable. The only perfection is through Christ. And so when we're tapping into Christ, he is the perfect sacrifice. He is the perfect way. And so we get to tap into that. And then when we tap into that, we're tapping into another level of wisdom, where he will order our steps, he will direct our paths, he will give us the way that is right for us. And the way that's right for us, it's not necessarily attached to perfectionism. And if we're being honest, then people don't really connect with all of that. They're not connecting with you being ultimately perfect. They're not connecting with that. People really want, in this time and this season, is people want authenticity. And so one thing that, and I'm going to share a little bit of my story, is that in my journey, I got caught up in feeling like I had to be perfect because of the type of people that I was around, and they were buttoned up, and they had, and they look like they had it together. And see, that's one key thing. People look like they have it together. Even these multi-million dollar business owners, I've had conversations with them. They look like they have it going on, but there's a lot that's happening behind the scenes. They look like, everything is in order in their house. Everything looks perfect, but in reality, there's a lot of things that's not perfect. But they didn't build their empires from that place. They built their empires from a place of imperfection, and allowed themselves the grace to progress from level to level. And I teach that in our kingdom blueprint, where I teach you to crack the code to creating generational wealth, create your first six-figure business God's way. And part of that is being where you are, honoring your process where you are, not trying to tap into being perfect and all of that, because it's unattainable. And when you're in a place and you're building from where you are, and you have it with the spirit of excellence. So here's your activation. I want you to ask yourself, where can I change? Where can I make an exchange for perfectionism to the excellence? And when I say excellence, because sometimes we can get all caught up in these performance-based behaviors, and it's like, I gotta do. I've been here. Oh my gosh, I gotta do this because the Lord is gonna be upset with me. And so if I don't get it right, then I'm failing according to the Lord. Listen, that's pressure you've put on yourself. God didn't say you do that like that. He didn't say wear yourself out. He just said be obedient. Be obedient. And as you be obedient, I will help you. I will be your helper. I will be your advocate. I have given you an advocate. I have given you a helper. I have given you what you need. So tap in. See, don't do it apart from me. See, with the Bible, what we talked about on one of the days is apart from me, there is no fruit. But when you abide in me, you can expect a multiplication of fruit to just happen. And so even if it's imperfect, and you're abiding in me and not abiding in a perfection, and abandoning your post and trying to be something that you're not, and walking and operating from a spirit of fear, out of judgment and what other people are going to say and think about you, when you're there, then you can expect that you not to produce any fruit. And I'm sure that you've been in that place where you're not producing fruit. You've been doing all the work behind the scenes. Your graphic looks, it's dope, it's perfect. You have this amazing system that's laid out, but you haven't launched it to nobody because of your imperfectionism mode. You have this amazing content that literally can transform lives, but you won't launch it out there because you're afraid that it's not good enough. It's not perfect enough. It's not going to be pleasing to man. Like, who are you in this for? Are you in this to please God, or are you in it to please man? Because see, if we're in it to please God, then to please God, that's taking on the mindset that I am going to be a servant. And as I'm being a servant, the servant is not worried about getting it perfect. A servant is worried about serving according to the needs that that individual have where they are. A servant gives themselves permission to respond to the needs, to assess the needs, then go back and pivot accordingly. A servant don't say, I got to have the answers. And if you really look at that, then that's really a spirit of arrogance. It's really a spirit of pride. And some of you, it's a spirit of fear. You just got to look at it from where you are, because everybody's at a different place. But when you're looking at it from, I have to have all the answers and I have to have it all worked out, that's not coming from a servant mindset. That's coming from an arrogant mindset that I have to be all knowing, I have to be all being, I have to be all the things. You don't have to be all of anything. All you got to do is show up and be obedient and have a servant mentality. Listen to your ideal client, listen to what the marketplace is needing, and you respond based on your gifts, based on the individual authority that you've been given in your divine lane. You respond accordingly. So that means that you got to give yourself permission to launch out there imperfectly, to write that book, get that first draft and put it out there imperfectly. You got to get started in building those relationships and standing among other kings and queens without you even having your stuff all together, so that you can start to learn and you can go back, reassess, reevaluate, and say, hey, like, okay, God, according to my unique blueprint, what are some adjustments that I get to make? What, and see, not what I have to make, what I get to make, because it's a privilege to be of service. It's a privilege to be of service. It's a privilege to be of service. And again, being of service, then that means there's a mind shift that I don't have to have it together. And again, we're walking in that scripture. And I actually needed to pull that scripture up because I wanted to have it for you. Give me just a moment. Give me just a moment. 2 Corinthians 12 and 9. It tells us, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect. We looking for perfection. He said, my power is made perfect in your weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness. That means I'm going to put it out there. And I'm going to do it with so much pride because God gave it to me. I'm going to put it out there with God confidence, because he gave it to me. And I know that where I am weak, he is strong. So let me finish as it says, so therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. So ask yourself today, where can I make an exchange from perfectionism to stepping into a place of excellence? And when I say excellence, that's me doing it as unto God and with a servant mindset. So I'm taking on a Jesus mindset where he said, I came to be served and not to serve. Like I came to serve and not be served. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. I came to serve and not be served. So I'm going to do this as unto God and with the spirit of excellence. That's what the spirit of excellence, knowing that I am a servant. And so as a servant, I get to take on a role of knowing that, a mindset of knowing that it may or may not be perfect, but it is in service. And as it is in service to others, where the areas where I am weak, his grace is sufficient. It is covering me. His power is resting on me in everything that I do. And so I can't get it wrong. I can't get out of alignment with his assignment because his power is resting on me. So wherever I get to pivot, I get to pivot instead of worrying about being in perfection. I get to pivot instead of worrying about being in perfection. And that should provide you just a level of freedom to just go and be and do all that he has assigned you to do with just freedom. Freedom. I know that's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. And that's what's going to attract your clients to you, is when you're operating from a place of freedom and you're not worried about what your flaws. You're not worried about what other people is going to say about you. I know that that's come from some what somebody else has said about you, but let's release that. Let's forgive them for that. Hey, God, Christ, when he went on the cross, he said, forgive them for they know not what they do. I want to just ask you to, and I just want to challenge you as well. Ask you and challenge you all in the same sentence. Are you willing to forgive the people who have projected themselves on you and made you feel some type of way and put you in the cycle of feeling like you have to have it perfect? Because if it's not perfect, you're going to get judged. If it's not perfect, you're going to get made fun of, you're going to get bullied. If it's not perfect, you're going to get reprimanded. Many of you may have been abused physically if it wasn't done perfect. But are you willing to release that for you? Not It's not even about them, because many of you have been enslaved to them. They've moved on with their life. Their life is satisfying to them where they are. And but you've been walking in the chains of other people's abuse and the trauma of the past, and it's time for you to forgive that person and release them so that you can be released into your next level, God's abundant level for your life and for your business. And you can stop, get it, move from a place where the enemy has been robbing you of your peace and robbing you of your purpose and robbing you of you stepping into that position of service where you're going to get the ultimate fulfillment for living out your life, living your life poured out full, and where you can just get to the end of each and every day and you can hear, well done, good and faithful servant. If you're caught up in that perfectionism in an unhealthy way, you can't get to that place to where you can just look at the end of your day and like, feel good about what's done. God, I thank you that I got to serve today. God, I thank you that I got to put that the great workout that you've given me to serve. God, I thank you. Then you move from perfectionism to a spirit of gratitude and just liberty on the inside. Let's get there. So be sure to do your homework on this one, because it's going to be so important. Again, the activation, the release is in the activation. So if you're not willing to do the activation and go into the and do to the hard places, then you can't be released and experience that fullness of it. So all right, I'll see you for our final day. Bye for now.